but I'm excited to be here. Our partnership with Aera has been long-standing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in our presentation. And I've had the opportunity to lead the alliance with our Americas team at EY with our partnership with Aera for a long time now, over 6 years, I believe. I'm excited to talk to you today about a use case that we've addressed with Aera that is near and dear to my heart. Many supply chains struggle with their materials planning processes. And thanks to the rise of Agentic AI, we're seeing now more than ever that we're able to address some of the gaps that we have in our ERP systems, our point systems, and our supplier collaboration platforms than we've ever had before. Before I dive into this, I do want to take a minute to recognize our history with Aera. We've been working with Aera for a significant amount of time and recently hit a significant milestone of 100 deployed skills in production. We've built up a team of almost 300 capable resources in partnership with Aera to help bring decision intelligence to our clients. With this extensive experience, we've also served as an innovation partner in collaboration with Aera and our clients. We've brought to market new capabilities like self-healing master data, purchase price variance management, and capable to promise within the Aera platform. And we remain a decision intelligence thought leader. Our latest efforts are around building out what the future of work will look like for each of the members in your supply chain as they leverage the new capabilities of Agentic AI within decision intelligence. What this means is decision intelligence has evolved because of Agentic AI. When we first started working with Aera, we used it for many point use cases that were not easily addressed by the current systems and platforms that our clients had. What we're seeing now is that we're able to handle more complex, more challenging use cases and really orchestrate end-to-end solutions with our clients. We're able to do this because we're able to capture and process unstructured data in ways that we were never able to before, pulling in information from emails, photographs, even Teams chats as teams collaborate and work to solve problems. We're able to apply reasoning from Agentic AI so that when you take a decision, you're not taking that decision in isolation. You're taking that decision and optimizing for both the upstream and the downstream functions that are impacted by that decision. And that's what makes materials planning such a powerful use case for where Aera has evolved and where decision intelligence has evolved. In today's day and age, despite all these innovations, materials planning remains reactive, fragmented, and blind to real-time shifts. When you take a step back and think about the complexity of materials planning, it makes sense as to why. There's an enormous amount of data that must be managed in order for you to deliver upon the materials planning promise to the business. You have purchase requisitions and purchase orders that don't have the accurate updates from the latest inputs from your suppliers, that are changing based on demand, based on supply positions, and obsolete impacts to your network. The material data that feeds into your MRP processes is often out of date, set up at a time prior to the current stability in your network, increasing the amount of inventory and excess that you have in your supply chain. On top of that, materials planning is incredibly complex because it requires a broad number of stakeholders. Processes like inventory management, product lifecycle management, and forecast collaboration introduce new parties. Folks in demand planning, supply planning, deployment, even the suppliers that you're working with as extensions of your supply chain. And what we see is that these challenges combine to lead to some pretty significant losses for our clients. Significant time is spent on exception management. And this one to me is incredibly sad because if folks had more time in order to solve these problems, they would be able to address a long tail of decisions within the material requirements process that they're not able to today. But right now they're stuck focusing on one or two large challenges and take days, if not weeks, to identify the right solution to the problem. This leads to excess inventory driven by outdated master data. On the flip side, when there is a shortage in the materials, you're companies are often faced by are often forced to take suboptimal margin decisions without all the information available to them to use that in the right place at the right time. And finally, this results in costly shutdowns and service failures. I think many of us can tell a story about that one time, that one small packaging material that typically didn't need to be planned or that you bought in bulk wasn't available and caused that line to go down. As I mentioned before, we've been working with Aera and with our clients to put together a perspective of what the future of material planning can look like. Thanks to Agentic AI, we now have the opportunity to drive more connectivity between the different elements of material planning than we've ever had before. And that starts at the top layer here. Here we have a dynamic material orchestration agent. This agent essentially serves as that companion for your material planning team. They can go in and identify where their risks are in their supply chain. They can query it about where their inventory is, which POs are open, which POs have a small quantity remaining. This orchestration agent connects to this next layer of super agents. These super agents are responsible for critical inputs, and critical outputs, I should say, within the supply chain. For example, your service super agent is trying to ensure that you meet the best on time in full possible with your customers. These agents connect together, and whenever there's an issue within the functional agents within them, they're able to identify the impacts and the recommendations as they go across and look at the the root causes, look at the transactions, and look at how the materials are flowing through the process. As an example, if you have an excess and obsolete functional agent trigger and identify that you have a product that's going to be excess, that inventory material super agent can connect to your root cause analysis agent. It can connect to your self-healing master data agents and make sure that everything is in sync and confirm that that is in fact an excess inventory and not something that needs to be adjusted. It can also look for opportunities to solve that problem by connecting in the cost super agent through the network optimizer agent and identify opportunities to rebalance the inventory across your network. All in all, what this means is that your material planners, at the touch of a button, are able to access the key information that they need in order to take critical material planning decisions any time of the day. So I've talked about our vision, but what I want to emphasize is as we've worked with these 19 different clients, this is how we came to these conclusions. This is how we built this perspective up. And I want to share with you an example of how we've built out a roadmap with our clients and how we're helping them achieve this value today. With this client, we wanted to make sure that we focused on a self-funding journey. The capabilities of decision intelligence were ever evolving as we started this journey with them. So we wanted to make sure that each step along the way, we were able to deliver critical business value for the business. In the first stage here, we focused on process standardization, using Aera to help deliver master data hygiene, exception reporting, and drive collaboration within the business. We're also, in our second phase, we now focused on process transformation. Here we leveraged that next level of capability with Aera. We pulled in elements of dynamic master data and self-healing master data so that MOQs, lead times, safety stocks, and lot sizes remained up to date with the latest information and how the processes and materials were flowing through their value chain. In phase 3, we moved to process, scale, and efficiency. And we wanted to pull all of this goodness together into a single cockpit so that our client was able to take these critical material decisions and optimize them not just for one problem, but optimize them up and down the value stream. We enabled exception-based planning and supplier collaboration, pulling in new inputs and new data sources that hadn't been available to them before. We also helped them manage the burden of coordinating all of the approvals, with the internal teams by setting up workflow capabilities within the Aera platform. We're currently in phase 4 with this client on their journey to a touchless MRP. And in this phase, what we're focused on is bringing to bear the capabilities of simulation within Calc, capturing that unstructured information, and helping grant those material planners ever more access to the data that they need to take their decisions. I'd like to dive into what we're doing and currently deploying with our clients right now in phase 4. Here you can see an example of how we're scraping emails and working with their suppliers, pulling that information into the decision data model in step 2, capturing the impact of that new update in the supply chain. Here in step 1, we've got a purchase order. We've identified that the quantity is going to be reduced. The decision data model recognizes which lines in the need to be updated so that you can capture what the impact is and simulate how you should address it in step 3. Using the calc capabilities, we identify not only is this impact a real impact, something that will impact our production, it goes through and identifies what the best resolution alternatives are for our client. Here, it looks at alternative sources, it looks at adjusting your production schedule, potentially even working with a customer to delay or move out an order. But in this case, we've identified the ideal fix. We found material that's available within the network that we can rebalance to support our production on time. Needless to say, this work has been transformative for our client. The work as we're doing it now, as they're doing it now, has new capabilities that many of these planners never expected to have. The material planner has right-sized parameters. They don't need to go in and manage the day-to-day inputs in their MRP. That's automated and done for them, updated with live demand and supply information. The procurement analyst, despite changing PO deadlines, PO dates, is able to identify opportunities for cost synergy by identifying where POs can be combined and where POs should be delayed to get the best volume discounts. Deployment planners are delivering an optimal deployment plan that takes into consideration not just the inventory at the final node, but the inventory across the network and identifying locations where to hold that inventory so that they can reduce the overall cash flow impact on the business. Sourcing is able to right-size contracts based on historical usage and, importantly, the resilience factors that are built in and captured through root cause analysis. Product managers and their phase-in and phase-out processes are now more than ever integrated into this process so that at the end of a version or a product, the supply chain's not left holding the bag at the end of the day for that excess inventory. And finally, supply planners now have more insight into the capacity and the challenges within the supply chain than they've ever had before. These capabilities are delivering tangible benefits for our client. We're seeing automation deliver effort reduction savings of up to 30%. Cash unlock naturally has come through the reduction of inventory and excess built up in the network. But importantly, we've also right-sized that critical inventory that wasn't available when it was needed. So you're seeing fewer delays and fewer OTIF misses because you've got the right inventory when you need it, where you need it. So this is a fairly transformative capability, and I'm very excited to talk to many of you about this after the event here. But how should you get started? Because this can be achieved by any of you in this room and any of you online. I recommend starting by setting that broader vision. As I mentioned at the beginning, decision intelligence and Aera have really transformed and evolved with the fact that agentic AI now allows for more interconnectedness between decisions, between recommendations than ever before. Solving one point solution is still a viable option, but set your sights for something broader. As you've developed that vision and identified what process you want to transform, then take the step and dive deeper and identify the self-funding value, the actionable steps that you can take to help you establish not only financial benefits so that you can continue to grow in your decision intelligence journey, but also the enthusiasm and the engagement and buy-in that's required to make these kinds of transformations successful. Finally, make sure you're embracing change and riding the wave of that enthusiasm as you're delivering these programs. These are the things that we have seen our successful clients embrace and use as they have started their journeys. And I believe you too can shape your supply chain and your material planning with confidence if you do the same. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm excited to speak to many of you after the event.